Hello and welcome to Post Guitar, or in this case, Post Ukulele, I suppose. I'm going to put a separate video on this channel where I play this through an amp. I'm going to demo some settings for it. I might even drag the space deck upstairs and demo it with some delays and stuff, just to stay true to the general vibe of this channel, which is lots of reverb and delays and silliness. This is an electric ukulele that I made for my wife, and I thought it was interesting enough that it was worth doing a short video on. It's not perfect by any means, but there's a lot of it seems from a bit of a Google, quite a bit of interest in electric ukuleles these days, especially since ukuleles have blown up and people want to do looping and that kind of thing. And people are mostly using piezo-electric, acoustic electric ukuleles, and I kind of wondered why not use an electric ukulele. And you know, there's obvious caveats to begin with. You know, the strings are tight. It's quite hard to keep some of it in tune. The high A is tiny. Tension, all those sorts of things. Intonation can be difficult. They need quite a bit of fine tuning. The strings need to settle. There's quite a bit of faff before it sounds good. If you buy a really high-end electric ukulele, like one of the Risa Les Paul style ones, they tend to be in tenor size or above, just purely because the scale length is very short otherwise. So the first thing you need to know about building an electric ukulele is that an electric mandolin is roughly the same deal, right? Roughly the same scale length as a concert ukulele. So a lot of the kits you see that are an electric ukulele or allow you to make something of this ilk are also electric mandolins. They're usually about £200, so whatever that is in dollars, Brexit fucking everything up means I'm not sure what that will be by the time this video goes out, because I think we'll have notified Article 50, so the pound will have collapsed, but $250, let's say, I don't know, something like that. And I wanted to basically build one for cheaper than that, but make one that was kind of equally good. So, what is this? This is a Thomann SG style ukulele. The other thing was that after talking to my wife, she didn't like a lot of the off-the-shelf ukulele shapes you could get as electrics, which tend to be Les Paul style or Telecaster style or Stratocaster style, the kind of the three main shapes you could get your hands on, but none of them particularly convincing, I suppose. And the headstocks are kind of weird shapes too in a lot of the cases. The Risa Les Pauls are very nice, but they are also £500. So that was a bit out of the price range. But we saw this on Thomann. It's a piezo-electric ukulele with a neck-through body, which she liked the shape of. So that provided a basis for doing this. They were about £50, about €60 at the time. So not too bad, actually, and that's the basis for this. So at some point I'm going to change the tuners. For now they are the stock tuners, and I find they slip a little bit, so I would say a big thing that I haven't done that you should do is get new tuners if you decide to do this. But anyway, so this is a Harley Benton SG, it's a concert scale, and what you need to do, right, is first take off the strings and everything. Second, get some sandpaper or a chisel or something and sand down this nut thing here, the saddle that the strings sit on. It's going to get in the way, so file it right down, but you don't actually need to get rid of it. Taking this off is quite hard. Well, not hard, it's easy to knock it off, but there's the potential of damaging the paintwork underneath, and it's quite hard to then cover up that. So don't do that. Get a electric mandolin bridge with adjustable height saddles, and then drill 4 holes, 1, 2, 3, 4 in the body, and then 4 holes through the body for your strings. Then on the other side, get some string, what are they called? Not rivets, ferrules, string ferrules I think they're called. Get a few of those, they come in packs of 6, and put them in the back, and then they'll hold the strings in place. Get a chisel, chisel out space for a pickup. Now I got this is a custom made pickup. It's an almuse. It's a jazz humbucker. I can't remember the exact name of it. It was £54, which for a handmade pickup is really good. Well, I guess it's about half the cost, I suppose, because the one I have for my Jazzmaster from the Creamery was £74. So I suppose, you know, given that it's 2 less strings, about the same price, isn't it, per string? And that was delivered like 3 days later. It was brilliant. So then chisel out enough space for that. Get a small piece of padding. I used solder padding, as it happened, a solder sponge, to put underneath it, and then screw it down into place. And once those two things are in place, that's the bulk of it. So what I did first though, before screwing that down to place, was I took that out, masking taped up the body, and sprayed the hole black with black paint, 2 coats of it, just so it wasn't really obviously the alder or plywood or whatever the body was made out of, and then just touched up the edges with a paintbrush, because as you're chiseling into the body, you might just miss or chink a little bit, and it helps to tidy it up. You can use a router. I've got a little Dremel one, but what I found was with this in place, there wasn't enough space to get the router in there. If you were putting the pickup here, you could probably just use a router for that rather than a chisel, if you prefer. When you're ready to put the strings on, get a piece of the fuzzy part of double-sided Velcro or a sponge or something like that, cut it to size and put it on the top there, and that will really help reduce overtones. So I recommend doing that. Right, and then what you need to do, rip out the electronics that are in there. There's basically, there'll be some things that go to the bridge. There'll be a piezo, this is a piezo bridge, and there's like some wiring and stuff. Rip it all out, cut it out, and tape it off. Anything that you can't remove physically, just tape it off. And then drill a small hole from here through to the cavity here. And then you can run wires from your pickup over there. Probably the best thing to do before you do this, get a breadboard. We've got one around here. Get a breadboard like this. They're a few quid from Maplin. Take all of the wires that come out of the pickup, put them in here. Get a jack, like you're going to use for the input. Wire it into another side, and use jumper wires to check the wiring and how it comes together. And then you can mark off on each wire which one's which and how they need to come together when you've got them in the cavity, because there's a lot less space in there, and it pays to know exactly which one's which in advance. So that's a big tip. I'd recommend that. And then, yeah, basically decide how you want to wire it, and you could even wire it 2 pickups. I decided to go with 1 because there was 2 holes already cut in the body for the 2 potentiometers. And then go to Seymour Duncan, the pickup manufacturer. They have loads and loads of wiring diagrams. Choose the wiring diagram you want to use. This is just a simple tone and volume, or volume and tone I should say. And then you have to buy some wire and a couple of potentiometers. Buy the potentiometers and wire you need. I think these are both 500k. One of them's I think an audio, and one of them is linear, if I remember correctly. Wire them in. And then fold everything up neatly, screw it back in place, and job done. And then all you need to do is get the action and intonation right, which is going to be a case of finding the right strings and lowering the saddles to get it to a point where it is playable and acceptable. The string sizes we used were I think 13, 16, 19, and then a 28 potentially. This is not in re-entrant tuning, it's in low G tuning. You can do quite a bit of experimentation, and there's some good forums out there on the internet with different sizes. I'll link one of them in the video description to show you one that I used. And yeah, so basically, I mean, this took sort of a full day of work, I suppose, about a day, maybe a bit more, all told, essentially just to gut the whole thing and then rebuild it. And like I say, not having to route the body or finish the body or whatever, saves a lot of time, not having to make a neck or finish the neck again. So I would really recommend it if you want an electric ukulele, or you know somebody that does and you want to do one. You can do this. I think the total parts cost was probably about £150. So cheaper than a kit, and I think it looks a bit nicer, in all honesty, than a lot of the kits I've seen. And it plays pretty well. The other thing is you might need a strap pin, because it only came with 1. So I had some spares lying around, but you might need to get one. and then we got I think this is a banjo strap to fit it. So yeah, that's it. Electric ukulele. That's kind of how you make one, and it's pretty simple actually, isn't it? If I can do it, then absolutely anybody can. Cool. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. If you enjoyed this, then subscribe for more. If you're a ukulele player, then probably there's not going to be a lot of ukulele content on here, but I will link a video where I demo this, and that's about it. Thanks for watching.